Personal boundaries are important in any relationship that you engage in, be it marriage, friendship, relationship with your relatives, with your co-workers, any relationship at all. As long as you're dealing with another human being, personal boundaries are very important. But today, my focus is going to be on personal boundaries in marriage and love relationships. This is going to be like a series because when it comes to boundaries, I have a lot to say. I totally understand how hard it can be to set and maintain personal boundaries in a marriage relationship because you are most likely spending a significant amount of time together with your spouse. Even if you manage to put certain boundaries in place, it can be hard to maintain them again because you are practically sharing your life and your space with this person. However, setting healthy boundaries, emphasis on healthy, can greatly minimize conflicts between you and your other half because these boundaries are what will set the tone for what you both expect from each other. In my opinion, boundaries are everything in a relationship, and people who hold on to boundaries are usually people with a high self-esteem. Boundaries are directly connected to our self-esteem, and if you don't erect boundaries in your relationships, you can turn even well-meaning people into bullies. I am telling you. Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing well. If you are new here, hello, welcome, and thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Josie. Over here I share a lot of family and personal lifestyle vlogs. I share personal development tips so that we can all together become the best versions of ourselves that we can be. And I also do chit chat about relatable topics around marriage, friendships, motherhood, life in general. If this sounds like something that interests you, kindly consider joining this beautiful community by subscribing for more fun, wholesome, and relatable topics. Today, I am going to share with you some tips that if you put into practice, it can provide you with the freedom to be able to express your needs and values while also honoring the needs and values of your partner in order to enjoy more respect, individuality, have an open communication, autonomy, emotional well-being, and intimacy. The list is endless. The first point on my list is that you need to understand your own boundaries. You cannot put boundaries in place if you don't actually have boundaries. You need to be sure that you fully understand what your boundaries are before you try to convey them to your partner. You can take your time, there's no rush. Sit down with yourself and understand how certain behaviors make you feel. That is your boundary right there. Have it at the back of your mind, even if it means writing it down on a piece of paper or in your notepad. Write it down because this is serious. You want your relationship to work. You want to be able to have a more enjoyable, peaceful, loving, and fun relationship with your partner. So be sure to understand exactly what your boundaries are, how situations make you feel, and what you would like to change in order to have a more free and enjoyable relationship with your partner. Write it down and be clear about it. Point number 2 on my list, you have to be open, honest, specific, and direct in communicating what your needs are. You cannot be wishy-washy about your personal boundaries and you expect lasting results. Nobody's going to take you seriously. You know, the way you speak about something with your partner will make him understand that this person is really serious about this thing. When you sit them down and you are clear, direct about how certain things make you feel, if they value the relationship that they share with you, they are most likely going to give it some thoughts and make adjustments where need be. It is always best to communicate exactly how you feel about certain situations in order to avoid misunderstanding and distrust in the relationship. And also, as much as possible, try to avoid statements that will make your partner feel condemned and criticized. Instead of saying you always do this or you always say that, you can say something like, I feel. It is about you, how you feel about the way something is done or said. You can say something like, I really feel belittled when you make fun of me in front of other people. Or you can say something like, I feel like my efforts are not appreciated whenever I do laundry and fold them nicely. And when you come to take out something from the middle or the bottom, you don't lift the clothes carefully to take out what you want, but you just pull it, and then the rest of the folded clothes gets scattered. That is just an example. That is just an example, because personally, that is something that I will get offended by. Yeah, especially if it keeps happening over and over, especially in this abroad where people walk around the clock. And when you make an effort to maybe tidy up the house or fold laundry nicely or cook food, and somebody comes and eats and leaves the plate on the table or leaves the plate in the sink, at least I don't mind doing the dishes, but at least just take the plate from the table to the sink. If I come and meet dirty plates in the sink and not meet food particles in the sink, I'll know that at least you made an effort to at least clear the food particles and put in the bin, and just put the dirty dishes in the sink. The worst is if after eating you just leave your plate on the table, or you carry the plate with the leftover food and go and put in the sink. That's like you're just giving me work, which can actually be avoided if you think about it. And these are some of the little things that causes problems in relationships. It may not be exactly this one, but everybody has their thing that when their partner keeps doing constantly, it can cause a problem in the relationship. So don't make it a you problem, like you always leave the plates on the table after eating, or you always carry dirty plates with leftover food and put in the sink. You can say something like, I feel like my efforts are not valued when things like this happen. And if your partner is a sensible person, it will sink in their head, and the next time they eat, it will ring a bell in their head that they need to clear the table, put the rubbish in the bin, and put the plate in the sink. If they cannot wash it, at least they've kept it nice for you to come and wash it without doing extra work. It may be your partner using the toilet and not flushing it. It may be them mixing their dirty clothes with their clean clothes. It may be them, it could be anything. Just know the way you are conveying that message to them in a way that will not make them feel condemned or criticized, but still your message will go across to them. And any sensible person, any reasonable partner will understand where you are coming from, and they'll make an effort to make changes just for the sake of the relationship, so that both of you can continue to enjoy your relationship together. Point number 3 on my list is, while you are conveying your own boundaries to your partner, pay attention to your partner's boundaries as well and consider them, because it cannot be one-sided. It cannot be you talking about your boundaries and your partner is making you understand that these are their boundaries and you're not paying attention to them. Listening to each other is an equally important aspect of communication. Don't only talk, try to listen to what your partner has to say, and try as much as possible to consider them while they consider yours as well, because what it takes two to tango. Really listen to one another to ensure complete understanding. You can ask questions for clarity if necessary. If they say something that you don't quite get, ask them for clarity, because the goal is to move forward in the right direction. So it will be pointless for both of you or for your partner to come to communicate something to you, or for you to try to communicate something to your partner and they don't understand it, because it is only by understanding that both of you can actually act on what needs to be acted on and then move forward in the right direction. Point number 4, communicate with respect. This point is very important, because sometimes we let our emotions take the best part of us when we are trying to communicate something that we are not happy about. When you let your emotions get the best part of you, you might communicate in anger, and you might end up saying the wrong things, which will not actually give you the result that you are seeking. Try as much as possible not to say anything in the heat of the moment, because usually you would say the wrong thing and you end up regretting. If you approach something that I did or said respectfully, you are 99.9% guaranteed to get the best response and the best outcome from me. So the way you like your partner to communicate with you respectfully, put in that same energy and communicate with them respectfully as well, because as adults we all love a certain level of respect from our partners, whether we are friends in marriage, whether you got married to your friend or not. That respect is always very important, and you have to be intentional about it, especially when you want to communicate something that is serious and important. Do it respectfully, always. I wish my husband was here to tell you guys. We used to argue a lot about every and anything, and I'm somebody who does not like arguing at all. First of all, it's stressful, it gives me a headache. Arguing takes a lot from me. I like my quietness, and if I have to communicate with somebody and it takes that level of negative energy, it is draining, and it is the last thing I want from anybody. It used to be so draining until my husband understood the kind of person that I am, and he understood that coming at me in a certain way was not getting him the kind of results that he actually wanted. Some people might say that, oh, this is the way I talk, this is who I am, that is how I talk. If you look deep down, you will see that if you were addressing an issue with somebody else who is not your partner, there's a way that you will say it. If you can calm down yourself and talk about issues with that person in your life in a respectful way, it is very possible that you can talk about it respectfully to your partner as well. They deserve a certain level of respect, especially if you still want that relationship to go forward. So it is vital to pay attention to how you are saying it as much as what you are saying. The tone that you use to say something to somebody is more important than your choice of words, if you ask me. Try to avoid yelling, cursing, sarcasm, using demeaning words. That is something that I cannot take from anybody. It doesn't matter how bad the situation is. Calm yourself down as an adult and talk respectfully. Trust me, when you use anger to communicate how you feel about a certain situation, it turns people off quickly, and it turns them away from what you are actually trying to make them understand. Most of the times, they will stop listening and start defending themselves. And when they start defending themselves, it will now turn into a full-blown argument. The resentment will grow bigger. You have wasted your time, you've wasted your energy, and at the end of the day, there's no positive outcome. That is human nature. Point number 5 on my list: to have this type of conversation with your partner, you need to choose the right time. Sometimes we might be tempted to, say things as it hurts, because as it do you, you just want to pour it out immediately. Try as much as possible to avoid that temptation of impulsively saying things without considering whether the timing is right or not. Ideally, I would suggest that you choose a time when you are both calm, sober, well rested, and not distracted by the television, your phones, or other people and other problems, other pressing problems that are going on in the family or with you as an individual. There could be other issues at hand that needs to be handled immediately. That will not be the best time for you to now sit your partner down and start talking about your personal boundaries. In reality, there may not always be a perfect time to discuss personal boundaries, but if you wait for too long, you may run the risk of having resentments pile up. So choose the best possible time for you and your partner. And let's not forget that some boundaries need to be set in less than ideal circumstances. If you or someone is in immediate danger, for example, he hits you, you will have to go ahead and set a boundary immediately. You cannot just have your partner slap you and you say no, you'll talk about it when the time is right, or you choose the right time to discuss it. No. If he hits you, it's endangering your life. If you let it slide, looking for the right time to talk about it, before you have that opportunity to talk about it again, you might not even be alive to talk about it. So in such circumstances, it is very important to put that boundary in place immediately. And you don't only need to set a boundary, you need to leave a dangerous situation immediately, because what your life is precious. You cannot play around things that has to do with somebody inflicting pains on you, because you don't know. Before you know it, you might just turn into a vegetable. If something happens to you, that person is going to get on with another person and move on with his life, and vice versa, because it is not always men hitting women. I know of situations where women have been the ones hitting their men. Point number 6 on my list is you need to learn to say no. If you've been watching me for a long time, you know that I always talk about saying no. Saying no is a complete sentence, and sometimes you don't even need to explain yourself. I totally understand that saying no can be difficult, especially to your partner. However, if your partner is asking you to do something that you are not comfortable doing, you have to learn to say no. Point number 7 is somewhat relates to the previous point. You need to be able to point out the things that makes you uncomfortable. If your partner does or says something that makes you uncomfortable, it is important to let them know that they have crossed the line, so that they know not to do it again. If you keep keeping it inside, yet it is affecting you, it will definitely affect the way you deal with them. They will notice that you are being cold towards them, yet you're not saying what the problem is. So for the betterment of your relationship, it is important for you to learn to point out those things that make you uncomfortable. Have a conversation with him. And I believe that any partner who loves you and values your relationship will be open to making adjustments in order to accommodate you, so that both of you can do life together and be happy together, and not just tolerate each other for the sake of the children. Point number 8, you need to set clear consequences. You need to let them know that any action or inaction of theirs has a consequence. Once you and your partner have discussed your boundaries, you've discussed the musts and the must nots that your marriage needs to be successful, the next thing is to be crystal clear about what the consequences are if boundaries are not respected, because you cannot just come and talk about your boundaries without discussing what the consequences would be if those boundaries are not respected. If not, why would anybody bother going out of their way to do something that maybe does not come natural to them in order to accommodate you, if they know that if they don't do it, nothing will happen? So for example, if you and your partner agree that you're not going to raise your voices during a conflict, and one person decides to yell during a conflict, then the consequence could be that you will pause what you're talking about for 30 minutes, 1 hour, and one person will take a walk alone until they have calmed down. Then they can come back, and both of you will continue to address what it is that you were talking about. Yeah, I know that that's a soft punishment, but it's just an example. You decide what will work for your relationship, but there has to be some sort of consequence put in place and agreed upon by both of you. It is imperative that you follow through with the consequence of any boundary violation, because not following through with the consequences will show your partner that you don't even respect your own boundaries. And if you don't respect your boundaries, why should they? Point number 9, take responsibility. You need to remember that anything you do and say has a natural consequence, whether positive or negative. If you are somebody who is always critical of your partner, they don't do anything good in your eyes, you always condemn their action, you compare them to their friends, you say all sorts of demeaning things, they'll probably not want to be intimate with you. The way we talk to our partner sometimes determines how attracted they will be to us. Most times it's not only about our looks and how we take care of ourselves. Anybody wants to feel loved, respected, valued, spoken highly of in their faces and behind their back. Those are the kind of things that makes your partner wants to be with you. When you show them love, you care for them, you are kind with your words and your action, you look after yourself, maintain your good hygiene, you're not overly critical of them even when they do things that you don't like. If you refrain from yelling and speak kindly to your partner, especially during an argument, they are most likely to feel secure and desire intimacy and connection with you. And this same concept applies to honoring your partner's boundaries. You need to realize that what you say and do or don't do affects your partner, and also understand that you may slip up along the way, especially if you and your partner are new to setting healthy boundaries. But this is where taking responsibility when you make a mistake comes in. When this happens, always take responsibility and offer genuine apologies, and always circle back to clear and respectful communication. If you value your marriage, you value your partner, there's always room to do better if you want to. If you ask me, I would say that it is best to set healthy personal boundaries at the start of any marriage relationship, when you both know that you are heading towards that direction of marriage. That is the point where you both need to think about setting healthy boundaries. In this way, it is easier for you both to follow the relationship rules that you have put in place for your marriage, rather than being hurt before you start talking about those personal boundaries. But if you're already in a marriage, it is never too late to reassess your relationship and make necessary adjustments for the good of the relationship. I'm just somebody who comes and sits on the internet to blab about things that I think makes sense, especially things that I have personally lived through, things that I have seen that works in my life and in the lives of other people that I surround myself with. You don't have to listen to me. If it comes to it, the services of a licensed marriage and family therapist are extremely beneficial, especially if you are creating big boundaries around things like alcoholism, infidelity, child rearing, physical abuse, and things like that. The services of a licensed marriage and family therapist are extremely beneficial. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video valuable, please, I would appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up and share it with someone, and also let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Until I come your way next time, stay blessed, stay safe, continue to drink a lot of water, and mind the business that pays you. I will see you in my next video. Bye.